Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome to another StarCraft 2 video. Now what I got for you today is a very much so requested match. I had a lot of people reach out on Twitter as well as Instagram DMs for some reason. I'm not entirely sure what that was all about, but I had a lot of people reach out mentioning that I really need to go ahead and cover the game between these two players that they recently played at WCS Valencia on Dreamcatcher LE. And usually whenever I get recommendations, people are like, hey Lowko, you should really go ahead and cast this game, and I will usually end up doing so if I can get my hands on the replays. But for this one, a lot of you were like, hey Lowko, this game is great because it is a professional game that looks more like a viewer-submitted match. So obviously, I was immediately excited when I got those messages. I haven't seen the game yet, but I am ready to jump into it. But before I blabber onwards, let's get started by introducing the players. Spawning here in the top left-hand corner of Dreamcatcher LE and playing with the red Protoss probes. He's from Germany, easily one of the greatest Protoss players in Europe, if not the very best right now. We have none other than ShoWTimE, always a very efficient Protoss. I mean, the German people are known to be efficient. He's definitely no different in that regard. Very, very standard play style. And his opponent spawning here with the blue Terran SCVs. He's an up-and-coming Terran player, although already he's competing with the best on the planet. He's 16 years old, he's from France, and he goes by the nickname of Clem. And apparently, he's got one idle SCV. That one's slacking on the job. Get to work, dude. That is actually gonna hurt his gas income quite a bit, although it shouldn't usually matter that much in the grand scheme of things. But even pro gamers do still make minor mistakes like that. I know, you feel bad whenever you do that, right? I've forgotten spawning pools in many of my games. I'm like thinking about the mid game, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go Hydras, I'm gonna go Banelings, and I forget my freaking spawning pool. Players make mistakes all the time at every level of play, and even professional gamers will make these slight errors. Now, ShoWTimE already putting up a bit of a wall right here. I think that is to prevent the Reaper from really getting any kind of, jumping about here on top of this ramp. Obviously, that is something that is quite annoying in the earlier stages of the game. ShoWTimE, though, already chrono boosting out the Stalker, so nothing out of the ordinary just yet. We do see the factory now coming up. Looks like Clem did indeed restore that single SCV and forced it into the refinery once again, which is very helpful. But so far, very classic openers here from both players. Both assimilators, of course, have been taken. We see the same here for both refineries right now. So that does indicate that Clem is likely going to be going for that 1-1-1 style. Apparently one SCV actually tried to hide there in the top left-hand corner. Just trying to put it in the top left actually is quite annoying. Sometimes players forget checking there. Doesn't really happen very often at the pro level, but if you can hide the SCV, right, and you can get some more scouting information on the tech path a little while later, it's extremely valuable. At this point, though, Clem already knows about the fact that there is a Stargate up, so it doesn't really matter all too much. Both players playing very, very classic, normal styles. And look at that. We already see that starport now coming up as well. Here's the thing, though, about playing that 1-1-1 style. Basically, Terran players, more so than Terran or more so than Protoss and Zerg, they have access to a wide variety of their units really early on. Because of the fact that you can make a tech lab and a reactor on any of your unit producing structures, you can really quite easily switch around your add-ons and produce a variety of units. It's really difficult for your opponent to figure out what it is they need to make. At this point, ShoWTimE hasn't even really bothered scouting. He's basically just playing a style that is relatively safe against pretty much everything. Just because, with the exception of maybe battle cruisers and like ranged liberators, Clem is going to be able to bring out practically any kind of unit by the 5-minute mark. Already though, we see a single Widow Mine right over there. There's one in the main base too. ShoWTimE is trying to be super careful with the path that this Oracle took, but nope. Using it really smartly there. Putting the Widow Mine right there in that little bit of shrubbery makes it really difficult for the Protoss player to just simply glance at the map and see whether or not there is indeed something hiding on that side. Now ShoWTimE already though showing the probe there. So this does indicate to us that at the very least he's looking to take a third base here. And so far this is looking pretty standard, not gonna lie. This is looking like a very normal game. Single matter of fact now moving across, of course. The thing, of course, is that ShoWTimE did lose one of the oracles. That does mean that he's going to be in a little bit of trouble if he does not pay quick attention to this medevac. Although he does have another oracle available and a second one now too for a revelation. Quick response time there, absolutely critical. Once again, unburrowed there by Clem, trying to buy as much time here as possible. But eventually, these Widow Mines will fire. There's not a whole lot that Protoss can really do to prevent that from happening at this point in the game. And he is indeed going to be sending those probes back to mining, where the Widow Mines are on their way back home. Third command center are also coming up. So really, all things considered, right? This is looking like a very normal game. Clem is now transitioning towards that much more mid-game focused army. He's likely going to be going for Siege Tank Marine and then a bunch of Marauders and maybe some Medevacs and whatnot as well. Very classic Terran focused army where you really try and play that harassment focused style and eventually overpower your opponents. Now, he is still going to continue the harassment for a little while longer. Single Liberator here being a bit of a nuisance. Oh, the Medevac actually just... Oh my god, that is so dirty. Did you see that? The Medevac just snuck past that Phoenix, even though the Phoenix was on patrol. That does mean that while the Protoss player is busy dealing with the Liberator, these Widow Mines are dealing quite a bit of damage. Liberator does end up dying there, but that's 4 probes in total. Or I guess 5 there in total for Clem so far. But really, all things considered, that's manageable, right? 2 Widow Mines could have easily blown up the entire mineral line, and considering the fact that... I think actually the double Stalker went down too. Yeah, I don't see them anymore, so... The double Stalker indeed did end up dying there. So ShoWTimE definitely not in the greatest position so far. But everything is manageable. Everything is manageable here so far at this point in the game. Blink Stalker now coming up, as well as, of course, the +1 ground weapon upgrades here for Protoss. A bunch of additional gateways, as well as the Robo. So everything is according to plan. Other than, of course, the fact that he lost a bunch of workers. But for the most part, this is all pretty straightforward. Yeah, you can even see it right there in units lost. It's slightly in favor of Terran, but that can really change at the at the flick of a wrist, and I guess is the correct term in StarCraft 2, but it can really very easily change at this level of play. Eventually, though, with the medevac going down, that's going to even up the resources lost so far at this point in the game, and with both players now securing their third base, I think that this game is likely going to be all about the mid-game. Both players managed to survive the early game without anything critical whatsoever, and that does mean we should be able to see a more diverse strategy right now for both players. They can, or a more diverse strategy rather. They can both go for a variety of units. It will all come down to their control. And this is honestly my favorite part of Protoss versus Terran in particular. There's a lot of cute moves that you can make, for example, as Protoss as well as for Terran. For example, I mean, having that one stasis ward there can change the tide of battle. There's a couple of them just simply set up at random locations. ShoWTimE, of course, not doing that one just for the fun of it. He knows that he's going to be able to... potentially catch that army. And since he has energy on these oracles anyway, he may as well give it a try. The scans actually are confirming that there are some units out. Now, he could be able, if he spots really closely, he might be able to see that. Now with these stalkers chasing down, though, that medevac definitely will not live to tell the tale. Once again, that one will stay up there for a little while longer. ShoWTimE now also has a warp prism here moving on the left-hand side of the map. Double oracle, once again, moving into the mineral line there, but with the single medevac, or rather the single missile turret there, Clem should be able to deflect that one. As soon, though, as this Terran army moves out across the map, and this is a little bit worrisome, as soon as that army moves across the map, even if the two medevacs are split off, we will see ShoWTimE moving forward here with the Warp Prism. That's actually a pretty big amount of damage that he took already. That single... Oh my god, that single Widow Mine is still sitting there. It's the one that killed the Oracle earlier today. Double medevac returning back home, but the other two made their way towards the main base of the Protoss player. Massive amount of units now all of a sudden on every side of the map. It does look like Clem has decided to move the majority of his force back with a single one of those stasis wards, slowing this one down significantly. Turns out one of the pilots actually got sniped there, and with that, also one of the forges. That's actually a big loss. That upgrade was not quite done from finishing, but obviously there's a lot of lost resources, but most importantly, a lot of lost time as well. You can even see a little timer right there on the right-hand side of the screen, showing us that there is indeed still a couple of upgrades that are just about to finish up. But ShoWTimE has indeed been delayed quite effectively there, and Clem, I'm definitely gonna have to give our young French Terran player the upper hand so far in the game. Sure, he lost a lot of units as well, but in a lot of these scenarios, it's gonna come down very much so to upgrades. The fact that he's already, you know, in a really good position there. I guess maybe one of the engineering base got sniped as well, so it's kind of hard to say really who's ahead at this point, but I would definitely say that Clem is looking really solid. Now, this is a bit awkward right now, right? Terran has just made their way across the map. He's going to activate STIM. He's going to try and move towards the main base and the third here of the Protoss. At the same time, it looks like the third of the Terran will be sacrificed so far. Ugh, that stasis ward, man, it was so close to timing out, but apparently it is just barely going to be enough. ShoWTimE will mass recall the majority of the units. That does still mean, though, that these Widow Mines will get some really juicy hits off. 14 SCVs going down so far in total. Storm is not quite done here, though, for Protoss, and that's where things are getting really scary. It's still 10 seconds away right now at this point in the game. That's still a lot of Terran units, but I think once Storm finishes up, and that is going to finish in just about 1 second. There we go. I think that this army will be forced back. ShoWTimE right now has his Psionic Storm available. He's going to be in a good spot, but Clem, he's not looking to slow down just yet. He's got that one siege tank in a really good position. Beautiful move there, actually. Oh, using hallucination to take some of those shots off the Widow Mines. Another one of those storms will get rid of 2 more of the Widow Mines. And ShoWTimE showing us his German efficiency. He's counterattacking at the same time towards the other side of the map, trying to force the Terran player back home. And even though these Zealots aren't dealing a ton of damage, they will force the majority of this Terran army to go back once again. Siege tank will be picked off as well. Widow Mine's still hanging out over there. Clem is going to try and see if he can get rid of those in, well... Okay, well, I guess he doesn't really want to get rid of those, right? He's just simply going to sacrifice one and then walk to the other side of the map with the other. Fort Command Center has now been taken, and likewise, we do see that Fort Nexus, though. We really have a very much so back and forth engagement at this point, right? I quite like this scenario that we're in. I mean, it's very hard to say who's currently in a superior advantage. I mean, units lost, I guess, slightly in favor here of Protoss right now, but it's kind of hard to say. It's practically dead even. This is really all going to come down to the control of both of these armies. Now, the majority of the Terran army, and I think that's actually pretty much all of it, has been lifted up into these medevacs. This was just confirmed, though, so ShoWTimE should have a decent understanding of what's going on. At the very least, he will find out now with a lot of those units dropping off over at the fort base. At the same time, it does look like ShoWTimE, I mean, he just used mass recall, right? I don't think he's got it available just yet. He does not. I think he can go back in just a couple of seconds, though, judging by the fact that that timer just ended. But it does look like it won't happen. Look at all of these Terran units now stimming up the ramp. We see the fort base taken care of. Now also the natural will go down. All of this Terran army is currently inside of the main base, but at the same time, Clem is gonna lose his own third as well as what looks to be his fourth here in just a second. There we go. It looks like the Protoss army is gonna, rather than making its way home, it's gonna go ahead and try and deal a lot of damage here to the natural as well. Reinforcing units of Clemdo are already sitting up into that main base. Liberator sieging up on the ramp, which is going to make it very difficult to access that. And at the same time, Clem is really dealing an awful lot of damage here inside of the main base of the Protoss. That means that really only one base is left over right now as far as mining goes. Quite surprised ShoWTimE hasn't decided to mass recall yet. I guess he really wants to try and deal as much damage as he possibly can. He will be forced to go back, though. There we go. Mass recall will indeed come down here towards that third base location. ShoWTimE knows he dealt a lot of damage to his opponent, but the question is, was that enough? Clem, of course, still has those command centers up and running, even though a lot of workers went down. Look at that. Almost over 100 workers there in just one single group of engagements. But even though a lot of those workers ended up dying here, Clem dealt critical amounts of damage to the Protoss, and he's still going to be able to continue dropping a lot of those mules. Gold base will now be acquired here for ShoWTimE as well. Marines and Marauders are being reinforced right now by those Liberators. We don't see a follow-up base yet. I actually think that Clem really needs another base here. he's gonna definitely run out of resources really quick. He doesn't have a lot of SCVs anymore, but I kind of feel like he needs to commit to another command center here in just a bit, although it's kind of a difficult call to make when you are as limited on resources as he is right now. He will figure out that there is a gold base taken here, and this is actually a really critical engagement. All of those Protoss units are fighting right on top of the Liberators. Liberators dealing so much damage. Concussive Shell, so valuable at this point. Picking out one of those Immortals for practically free, but the Nexus falls with just a couple of those Marines and Marauders shooting away at it. A lot of the Liberators now, though, starting to become very, very vulnerable. Stalkers blinking forward, but every single last of them was picked up. A couple of these units will now also... What was actually killing that? Okay, now there's actually still a couple of Stalkers there. I think that killed the last of those Liberators. But regardless, that army just traded blows once again. And while the Nexus ended up falling, I do think that Clem was actually the one that came out ahead there. The main is still not mining. Natural also has not been retaken. Instead, ShoWTimE is once more gonna try and see if he can take the gold base. Question is there gonna be enough? These medevacs, they are gonna accumulate more and more energy, and of course that means that this Terran army will be held back up to full HP. We do see that single group of High Templars. Oh, the High Templar trying to threaten with some storms there. Cute move by our Protoss player from Germany, trying his very best to showcase that he's perfectly capable of microing those units. The thing, of course, is that High Templar aren't particularly mobile. But if you put them in a War Prism, if the War Prism dies, all of the units inside of the prism will die as well, and it's very easy to lose them right now. Clem is actually splitting off a small group of Marines with that exact purpose in mind. He knows that this game is over if he snipes that War Prism, but already, right, this is now starting to become a bit of an awkward scenario. Main base has been lifted and moved over towards the third base location. Those mineral patches are still relatively fresh. Marines are now scouting around pretty much everywhere, and they will confirm that there's very little mining here available, but Clem should figure out here in just a second that there is a gold base. Okay, that's a really important scout. That's a really critical scout. Clem will be forced to move out here in just a bit, unless he wants to give his opponent that gold base, but I don't think you really want to get there. Whenever you're in a low eco situation, he doesn't know that there's not a second gold taken at the very least, but whenever you're in a low eco situation, those mineral patches, man, they're super juicy. In the meantime, we do see some High Templar drops, picking up an additional 8 SCVs there. A lot of Marines actually ended up dying as well. Clem managed to pick up some of the units there, just barely in the nick of time. Still trying to fly around with these Liberators. They don't have the greatest anti-air or air-to-air combat, I suppose, but they're still gonna be good at picking up a War Prism if they manage to find it. So far, man, you really see that sick mind game, right? Both players trying to find where their units are at. They don't have a lot of scouting information. There's a single one of these observers. I do think that that one is going to be rather important. But the War Prism, it still has those High Templar in them. There's also a couple of High Templar on the ground. Depending on how the storms land, this is still very much so doable right now for ShoWTimE. His army is not quite as big as this Terran's army, but the thing is, I mean, he can lose this base. This base doesn't have a lot of mining anymore. I almost feel like he should take the base in the top right-hand corner while this is going on. And rather than actually engaging the main force, it looks like ShoWTimE is going to go for the counterattack, while the majority of the Terran army is now going after the third base. There we go. Once again, Protoss is moving across. The medevacs immediately, or rather the SCVs and then the command center have been evacuated here as well. ShoWTimE will be able to pick up a lot of those reinforcing units for free too, but at the same time, right, with ShoWTimE leaving the gold base alone, that does mean that he will be losing his last mining expansion. Clem's still trying to get... Ooh, man! Oh. Clem's still trying to get that War Prism. It's once again picking up a lot of those units, but now without any Liberators guarding the ramp, right? I think there's only a single one remaining here. ShoWTimE is going to be able to move up into the main base, and with the last Nexus now actually gone, his army is currently revealed. ShoWTimE does still have a lot of probes remaining. He does still have 400 minerals as well. Nicely done. Actually, look at that. Both players actually hiding their workers from each other, very close to each other as well. Oh god, this is gonna be really awkward, isn't it? These Liberators are gonna have to provide so much value, but with the Storm still available, I don't mind the situation that our Protoss player is in whatsoever. Beautiful Storms will get rid of the majority of that Terran army. So much of that force has been killed. At the same time, a Nexus was taken in the bottom left-hand corner, right next to all of those SCVs. He cannot afford canceling that. That will be scouted here immediately by our Terran player. He needs to get rid of that army, but at the same time, though, the Marines and the Marauders are now chasing down the last of those probes. There's very little economy here available for our Protoss player. The force canceled there. But ShoWTimE, he's at 388 minerals. He cannot remake one of those bases anymore. Some of these probes do still carry some minerals, but they can't return it anywhere. The last of the orbital commands actually has now been found as well. Oh, I think this one is going to be picked off as well, right? All he needs to do is just burn it. All he needs to do is just burn it. ShoWTimE putting all of his probes on the most likely location where that command center is headed, but that command center is super dead. The majority of the Terran buildings are now actually flying near the southern end of the map. Let's have a look at that units tab. Overall, the armies are decently sized. It's 39 army supply here for Terran versus 31 of ShoWTimE. So I guess the probes have now got the duty to just simply fight. Yeah, they are on an attack move. I guess they're gonna try and pick up whatever they can. Whereas the majority of this army... Oh, man. If only he didn't build that Nexus in the bottom left, I think he would have been in a much better spot. But neither player is mining right now, right? This engagement is absolutely critical. That Blink Stalker micro has to be on point. Well, one of the Immortals immediately does go down. These Medevacs, man, providing so much value. Almost pretty much every single one of those Terran units has got their own personalized medic. That's oh my. The probes are using their little tasers right here at the front of their mouths to just simply destroy the last of these buildings. They will burn down here eventually. That one shield battery, though, providing so much value, in particular to that one Archon, of course. There's still a High Templar available. ShoWTimE now spending the last of its resources on 3 additional Zealots. That's it. There's no more mining here anymore. Neither player is mining at all. Nice pickup there, but oh my god, that blink forward will snipe one of those Medevacs. One of the Stalkers, though, had to pay for that shenanigans with its life as well. I mean, but the thing is, though, how exactly is ShoWTimE gonna win this game? There's no way, right? ShoWTimE cannot kill these buildings. I don't think he can anyway. I don't think Stalkers can reach into that high ground. He has no way of really producing any flying unit either right now, but he still needs to get rid of those units. If these Marauders survive, if one Marauder survives, right, Terran wins this game. Oh my god, the probes are actually so needed. Medevac once again picked up. Second Medevac now also picked up as well. These probes are absolutely critical. They are soaking so much of the damage. Obviously, at this point, I don't think ShoWTimE has a way of winning the game. Unless all of those... Oh my god, Clem is actually going to land the buildings and make some more units. Okay, well, that actually changes things, right? There's still a chance that ShoWTimE could pick those up. And with that, he has a chance of potentially winning the game if he kills these buildings. But Clem, he wants to force the draw. He wants to either win or force the draw. I think that's the best course of action right now for the Terran player. All of these probes have killed the majority of the Terran structures here. One of the Marines, it looks like it will be picked up for practically free as well once charge comes off cooldown. I think he will be able to do so, but the Medevac's coming in with the hot pickup. They are going to be able to get rid of those units. At the same time, though, oh my god, that army of Protoss is absolutely minuscule. Great control so far by the young French Terran player. But a couple of those probes really do make this a lot more difficult. Stalker ends up dying, and all of a sudden, right? I mean, Clem can pick up all of these buildings. He still has a chance at winning this, although... Oh, are you kidding me? This is meant as a defense to drops. That shield battery and that photon cannon, they may actually be the saving grace here. I think this may... Oh my god, I think this may actually be a forced draw. I haven't seen that in a pro game in a very long time. Even if somehow, some way, Clem kills all of those units, he has no way of killing that. Like, how can he kill that? There's no way. He could still... No, he can't make anything. He cannot make anything. He can make one add-on. He can make one tech lab, but that's about it. ShoWTimE is now simply chasing down these Medevacs. He knows that this is the last of the army. ShoWTimE trying to hunt down if there are any leftover buildings, but obviously at this point, his opponent has been revealed, so he's just checking for SCVs, I guess. That is, yeah. I mean, the thing is, Protoss cannot win. Protoss has no way of winning this game right now. Right? Unless Terran is gonna land these buildings and you know, accept the gentleman's agreement of, you know, giving his opponent a victory. But I personally, if I was Terran in this situation, I wouldn't do it. Right? Your buildings fly. Take that advantage and run with it. We have seen it several times in the past where Protoss players still obtain a victory in this scenario just because Terrans are like, you know what, I don't, you know, I feel like I don't deserve to win. I think that's ridiculous. Just because of the fact that your buildings can fly doesn't mean you know, shouldn't force the draw in these kind of scenarios. But the thing is, I think that Clem thinks if he keeps these units alive, that he's gonna be in a good spot. If he kills all of this last of the Terran, or the last of the Protoss army, he probably thinks he's gonna be in a spot where he can win the game. The fact of the matter is, though, that even if he cleans all of these Protoss units up, that there's still gonna be that one photon cannon. I guess he might be able to stim and snipe the pylon, but ShoWTimE can micro that shield battery to just simply go after the pylon as well. Right? These last buildings, they are critical. They need to go down in order for this game to be a victory. I'm pretty sure that is never gonna go in favor here of Terran. Protoss still trying to micro back that one weakened Archon. The Archon actually running very low. Beautiful control there, actually, by Clem. Getting a lot of value out of that force. Once again, though, he needs to pick up that one that one weakened Marauder. So many probes are going down, but obviously Clem can just boost away, drop the units, heal them back up to full HP, and do this all day long. Right? Stim is extremely valuable here. This is awkward. There might be a chance that Clem can actually kill the shield battery. If he can stand over here, kill the shield battery, and then kill the pylon, I think there's actually a chance that he can do this. It's a very slim chance, though. Obviously, he can try at the very least and you know, get that drop value. All he needs to do is destroy the last of the structures here of Protoss. There's still that other shield battery here, though, near the front. That one should be taken care of as soon as, you know, these last Zealots and then that Archon die as well. Archon was so close to dying there, but eventually, right, more and more probes are being picked up. I think ShoWTimE tries to set up... He's trying to set up a surround. A sandwich with probe. It's a probe sandwich. Surprise! Well, I mean, the probe sandwich didn't work. Why didn't it work? But I mean, Clem has been picking up a lot of these probes, right? How many workers have gone down? 92 SCVs and 84 probes. That is a little ridiculous. That is a lot of units. Both players pretty much even. Oh, man. Yeah, that's actually a nice pickup. That's actually a pretty good pickup. Getting those units is actually quite important. Well, the Metafix are running super low. He actually kind of needs these SCVs. He kind of needs those SCVs. There are still some resources available. Clem could go ahead, and actually one of the Marauders dies there. But Clem could go ahead and repair up that Medevac. But he knows about the fact that there's still that... No, with the Marauder down, I don't think he can win this. Can he actually kill... I don't know how this math works. Does anyone know how this math works? The last of the SCVs dies there as well. The thing is, though, Clem could technically pick up the shield battery and then perform some miraculous micro with the Medevac. Obviously, ShoWTimE can target as well using that photon cannon, so if he can pick up the Medevac, that's going to be super difficult to achieve. Ooh, man, the Archon trying to set up the surround here as well. Oh my god, this is one of the closest base races I've ever seen. That Medevac, man, healing up so much. 5 additional probes there end up going down. There are 0 workers remaining here for the Terran player, but he's got 1 Marauder, 1 Marine, and 1 Medevac, and 1 Dream. The dream is to kill all of these Protoss structures. The Archon there still providing a bunch of value. Medevac knows that there's an observer on it at all times, though. The thing is, both players are revealed, and they know it, right? ShoWTimE, I mean... The thing is, ShoWTimE at this point has no way of winning. Other than if his opponent were to land these structures or just GG out, he's really got no way of winning the game. What he can try and do is force the rematch on this exact same map. That is something that has happened several times in the past, but it's extremely uncommon. How about we draw, ShoWTimE says. I think that is the only correct option. I don't think there's really much that Clem can do. They have to obviously either have the game go to a stalemate scenario, or both players have to agree to this happening. Clem is still, you know, he's got a dream. He wants to have this game, you know, go into that scenario, but... Or he doesn't want the game to go in that scenario. He wants to pick up that one Archon. But ShoWTimE is not gonna let that one die. Right? He knows how much time he has to move back towards the safety of that unit. And now with that Marine dying, the medevac dying as well, Clem says GG. And he says a draw as well. That is ridiculous. So wait, you're telling me that... You're telling me that the one game that everyone recommended actually doesn't have a winner? Nobody won this game. That was awesome. I hope you enjoyed watching it. If you did, make sure you hit that like button down below. And if you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get a notification as soon as I upload more. Special shout out to the Patreon supporters. Thank you guys so much for all of the love. But for now, I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, alright? And I will see you once again in the next one. And by the way, for those of you curious, even though the screen right here says that it's a victory for Clem, this definitely has been a draw. I mean, you do get a draw screen if the game, you know, basically detects a stalemate scenario and you wait for like another 10 minutes. I think it's like another 5 or 10 minutes or so, but neither player really wanted to go ahead and get into that scenario. And even though apparently it was ShoWTimE that decided to leave the game and Clem is showing up as the victor here, this definitely is going to be a rematch. But anyways, hope you enjoyed watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.